intersection. Alright, so this is USC Village. Just wanted to record, I guess, a little bit of the area where I usually post up. So I usually post up outside of USC Village, at the cross section of USC and USC Village. So it is a lot of foot traffic, but this is what it looks like inside. What's up, we're doing awareness, one man. Rune, what's up? What's up, Natalie? So yeah, I usually post at the end of this walkway here, right on that corner. As you can see, there is a lot of students that walk through this intersection here. It's a pretty busy intersection, that's for sure. Alright, so this is where I'll be posting, right in front of this sign here. That's where I usually post up. So I guess might as well get started. Whew. Let me switch this. I'll leave my phone here. Guess I'll show you guys the setup real quick. Adventures, what's up? The Dirty Pox, what's up? This is what the setup looks like. All right. Gotta have the props, right? Hawks are flying. I just got to finish setting up the other camera and we should be good. It's definitely way windier than I thought, and I should have put the mic on, damn it. I wonder if I can still put it on. Come on. Alright, only one way to find out. I'm gonna try to put on the mic while the camera is running and see if that works. There we go. It's been a while since I used these. Testing. All right, let me all right, I'm gonna go ahead and connect it. Hopefully it works. What the hell? All right. Testing 1 2. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if my audio is good. If you guys can't hear me, just let me know, and I'll go ahead and disconnect the mic. Audio is good. Okay, cool. All right, I'll just leave it on. I'm hoping that it did connect. I did put the soundproof, windproof thing on it, so let me know if it's working, I guess. Sounds good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna assume that it is connected, and we should be good. Pool. What's up? Let me see if I can say hi to everyone real quick. Selenalian, True Creation, and everyone else in the chat or just watching. Thanks for being here. So I guess I could just get started. So the globe Earth has, contradictions, all over the place, all over the whole globe Earth model. There's contradictions, right? The funny thing is that gravity, obviously being a theory, a lot of people don't pay attention how Newton, for example, I'm using them because, the mainstream uses him as a, to talk about the laws of motion, right? Newton's laws of motion. But the funny thing is that Newton was a proponent of gravity, right? Of a pulling force, supposedly, right? This is where the contradictions come into play. So Newton acknowledges, right, the laws of motion, because that's part of our reality. For example, the first law of motion is an object at rest will remain at rest unless it's acted by an external force. So again, you cannot have an object at rest and then it spontaneously starts to move on its own. You require an external force. So that's the first law of motion. Again, they add the second part to that where an object in motion would stay in motion, and I'll highlight how that's a contradiction as well in a bit, but we'll focus on the first part of that first law. An object at rest will remain at rest unless it's acted by an external force. So again, the first law automatically states, and again, it's this reality, that you require a force if you're going to claim acceleration from an object being at rest. So the globe Earth, acknowledges that, but they also acknowledge that there is no force in free fall. That's where Einstein's theory of relativity comes in, because obviously mass attracting mass, it's easily debunked, by the fact that there is no practical demonstrations of this force being able to replicate these effects of this kind of acceleration, in other words. Obviously the excuse is that the Earth's mass is too big and it gets in the way, blah, 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 blah. Point being is that there is no force acting on an object that's in free fall. So that's where Einstein's theory of relativity comes in. So the mainstream acknowledges the fact, again, that you cannot have acceleration without a force. That's a law. That's a universal principle of our reality, that matter cannot just move without an external cause, right? But they're gonna come out and say that, well, yeah, it actually can move. Objects can accelerate without a force. That's the bending and warping of space-time, right? But that is that theory, again, that has no practical backing whatsoever, is a direct contradiction of the first law of motion. which states that you need a force in order to have acceleration of an object that's at rest. So, for example, when I'm holding this phone and it's at rest, and I release it, and simply release it, I'm not applying a force when I release it. If anything, I'm releasing the force of the grip, the applied pressure that I'm putting on the phone. If anything, I'm releasing the force. But yet I'm supposed to believe that in that instant, some other magical force that's not a force, again, that does not exist in nature, is supposedly accelerating it down. But there is no force that can be measured, and there are no effects of acceleration. So from the start, the whole globe Earth model, the whole globe Earth concept with their theory of gravity, it's a direct contradiction of the first law of motion. So right off the bat, it's clear as day. You know what I'm saying? So another thing about the laws of motion, the second law, obviously stating that force equals mass times acceleration, which just simply means that force is something that's in motion, right? Now, I wouldn't say globe earthers as much, but flat earthers, motionless flat earthers, a lot of motionless flat earthers, to be fair, deny or even dismiss the fact that force is a thing of our reality. A lot of motionless flat earthers would say that force is just a word that doesn't really exist. In other words, that's what they try to go at. That force is mainstream. It's mainstream concepts, and it's like, no, force is applied pressure. It's a push. That's what force is. It's something pushing on something else, and it's forcing it to move. That's what force is. It's a push, right? So I think it's funny that motionless flat earthers, completely, not everyone, obviously, but most, would deny that simple fact that force is something that's in motion, So, something to note. Now, when we're talking about the third law of motion, which is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So what that means is that when you push an object, that's an action, motion, a push, it's an action. The equal and opposite reaction is the resistance to this force or to the push. So matter having inertia, wanting to remain at rest, is the equal and opposite of the force, right? So when you come and try to tell me that the first law of motion, the second part, that an object in motion will stay in motion, well, that's a claim of action without the reaction. Because an object in motion staying in motion means it has no resistance. So if the third law of motion is true, which it is, for every action in this reality, again, there's no such thing as a frictionless environment in this reality that we inhabit right now. So for every action, there is going to be an equal and opposite reaction, always. That's why it's a law. It's the third law of motion. So if you're trying to invoke that, an object in motion will always stay in motion, well, now you're dismissing the third law. That for every action, there should be an equal and opposite reaction. So there's a contradiction there. And again, it's funny how globe earthers, and not only globe earthers, but stationary flat earthers now, will dismiss the first part of the first law of motion, which is an object at rest will remain at rest unless it's acted by an external force, which again, that's measurable, testable, and repeatable every single time. They'll completely dismiss that part, the real part, but then they'll buy into the second part, which is bullshit, which again, you have to imagine a frictionless environment which we don't live in, and you have to ignore the third law of motion as well, which is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So now you have globe earthers and stationary flat earthers buying into the second part of the first law, which is bullshit, which doesn't exist, which contradicts the third law. They'll buy into that, but they'll dismiss the first law. Why? Well, because they have a bias. Motionless flat earthers and globe earthers both want a physical downwards acceleration, which just doesn't exist. So they're gonna take the phenomenon of objects appearing to go down or falling, right? They'll take this word and run with it and just make it and just define it however the fuck they want, So they'll take the word fall or drop, and again just redefine it to fit their bias, right? So just like the globe earth takes the word level, right? we all understand that word level means horizontal, which again could be no deviation in elevation from any starting point and any end point from that surface, right? That's part of our physical reality. That is a fundamental fact, of our reality. But then you have the globe Earth redefining the word level to mean curve, equal distance from the center to the outer circumference. So yeah, there is no deviation in elevation when you're measuring, a distance from the center to the outer circumference and keeping it equal. The distance from the center to the outer circumference, yeah, it could stay the same, but that level, that redefinition of level is going to make a curved line, which is a contradiction of the very definition of level, which is horizontal. You cannot have a curved line that's horizontal. So again, understanding basic principles, fundamental facts of our reality, universal principles, in other words, it's what's going to debunk the globe Earth. Again, you're going to start to see the contradictions. For example, the globe Earth, they acknowledge the Earth's motion, up, right? They call it the normal force, right? The Earth is pushing up, but the reason why the Earth is not expanding is because the bending and warping of space-time is pushing it down as well. So now you have the bending and warping of space-time, which is flowing down towards the center of the Earth. Again, a mathematical concept. It completely cancels out the upwards push of the Earth, apparently. So they're claiming that there's a net force of zero there that's happening, basically, with the Earth's pushing up and the bending and warping of space-time. So that's how they try to explain how there's an upwards push, but the Earth doesn't expand because, again, it's being canceled out by the bending and warping of space-time. And if that's the case, how is there even an upwards push if it's a net force of zero? That means helium balloons shouldn't be getting pushed up. They should just stay floating wherever you leave them, right? Because the upwards push is being canceled out, right? So again, I was bringing that up because I forgot, I lost my train of thought there. Shoot, let's see if it comes back to me right now. So yeah, pretty much is that the globe Earth, again, it has contradictions left, right, and center. Again, they claim that there is a force that acts like a force, but it's not a force. And it contradicts, it cancels out the upwards push of the Earth, which is why the Earth doesn't expand into infinity, which is pretty much retarded, if you ask me, So, yeah, let me see if there's anything in the comments real quick. Before I continue, Brenda, you have not heard our explanations as he's proving now. You do not understand or even know what they are. Brenda, how many years have you been trolling this discussion? 8? I know. For sure, they already highlighted, all the flaws in Brenda's logic, and, we all know Brenda's just a troll. That, try to troll Nachiketa as well, so so yeah. Oh, so the net force. I was talking about the net force, right? It just came to me where I was going with that. So the globe Earth thinks there's a net force, so it cancels out, so the Earth doesn't expand, right? Which is funny how they acknowledge net forces right there, right? When it suits them, right? The thing is, when we're talking about, again, I don't really like to talk about airplane flights, but again, I'm talking about the contradictions of the globe, so it'd be cool to talk about. Again, they claim the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? They claim it's spinning from west to east, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but west to east. Point being is that they claim that when an airplane is hovering, or a helicopter is hovering, right, that it's being dragged with the atmosphere at this 1,000 miles an hour, west to east, right? So when the airplane flies west to east with the spin of the Earth, nothing changes, right? The Earth is spinning, the atmosphere is spinning, the helicopter is spinning, even an airplane, right, is spinning with it. If you have an airplane flying from California to New York, right, and there's a spin of 1,000 miles an hour, and it's carrying it's spinning the wind with it, and the airplane and the helicopter, it's all glued together, right, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, right? So when you're flying to New York with the spin, technically you're flying at 1,500 miles an hour. If the airplane flies at 500 miles an hour, right? Assuming the airplane's flying at 500 miles an hour, right? You're now traveling through space at 1,500 miles an hour, which is 1,500 miles an hour, which is the spin of the Earth, 1,000 miles an hour, plus the speed of the helicopter or airplane, or in this case we'll say airplane, right? Funny though how it takes the exact same amount of time to fly to LA than it does from LA to New York than it does from New York to LA, which is weird, because you would think, you know, if the airplane is flying now in the opposite direction of that 1,000 miles an hour, you would think there'll be a net force of negative 500, right? Because if you're flying 500 miles an hour in one direction, but the wind and everything that's dragging you along 1,000 miles an hour in the opposite direction, then your net force is going to be negative 500 miles per hour. What does that mean? That means when you're flying from New York to LA, technically, again, if we acknowledge net forces, technically you're going to be flying backwards at 500 miles per hour. You'll never get to your destination. You'll get to your destination in reverse. On a globe Earth. So let that sink in for a bit. If Brenda would like to explain net forces and what's happening there with the airplanes, that would be great. So maybe you can help us out, Brenda, since you want to help us out and explain the globe Earth model to us. How do you explain net forces with airplanes flying west to east and then flying east to west with the spin of the Earth? How do you fly against the 1,000 mile per hour wind or spin of the Earth at only 500 miles an hour? And how do you ever get to your destination if we take account net forces? Invite me to talk, and you will. Maybe on the next live, later on this week. I usually go live in the night, Pacific Standard Time at night, in the night, around 10 p.m. If you're interested, I might have you on for a few minutes. I would like to hear your explanation of that, of net forces of airplanes flying against the spin of the Earth. They're still able to get to their destination at the exact same time they did in the opposite direction when they were going with the spin of the Earth. Again, next time I go live, I'll put the StreamYard link in the chat, so you'll be able to just join. When I'm out here doing activism, I don't take calls, because obviously, I'm having conversations with people here in real life. So the calls ends and the open panels are for when I'm at home. So you're just gonna have to wait for that one. I mean, you could give us a brief explanation here. I mean, you're in front of a computer or phone, the keyboard's right in front of you. You could type something away, a little explanation of how that works, that would be great. And again, those are just a few of the contradictions of the globe, like just a few. It's a handful, but it's literally just scratching the surface of the contradictions, like, So, again, a lot of people are not paying attention. A lot of people, they understand laws, especially when it comes to motion. A lot of people understand that when you have water in a container, right, and you accelerate the container, the water's always going to react. It's always going to swoosh, react to that motion, Again, water is a fluid. It doesn't have a form. It can only take the shape of a container, and it can only react to external forces, Well, again, water doesn't have a shape, on its own. Water doesn't move on its own. It doesn't just react on its own. You know what I'm saying? So when we're claiming acceleration and we have a vessel with water in it, well, guess what? Just like water being level when contained at rest doesn't lie, and it shows a level horizontal surface, which is impossible on a globe, water also doesn't lie when we're talking about displacement, when it's in a container and it's being accelerated. The water's not gonna try to trick you and not displace when you accelerate it. Like, oh, I'm gonna hold on. Oh shit. I'm just gonna hold on. The water's just gonna hold on and not displace to try and trick you when you accelerate it, right? The water's not doing that. The water's not going to displace in the opposite direction of the acceleration either to try and trick you. You know, the water doesn't have the ability to try and prank you or you know, or trick you. Water is inanimate. It's just matter. You know, there's no conscious being inside of water to make decisions for it. You know, just based on what it wants. No, it's subject to the external world, to the reality that we inhabit, which shows that there is an upwards push. Again, water reorientates relative to that push. Not only that, water will always reorientate relative to the direction you claim the acceleration is at. You know, for example, again, when I accelerate a water bottle, again, we can see the displacement of the water pushing towards the back, right? You cannot make the water stay level and accelerate it without this happening. That's retarded, you know? Again, when we're claiming acceleration in free fall, again, water should react. You know, when I actually accelerate, like here on the right, again, the water, because it has inertia, matter has inertia, meaning it wants to remain motionless. It wants to remain at rest. So yeah, when we accelerate from being at rest, actually accelerate, we're gonna get the displacement. It's only again, people with, you know, with a special plead for magic in free fall, you know, are the ones claiming that there is acceleration there without cause and effect. So again, people have to realize that when you're claiming acceleration in free fall, you're literally claiming acceleration without cause and effect. Why? Because in order to have acceleration, again, the first law of motion, in order to put an object into motion from being at rest, you require an external force. Now, we're going to have reality deniers now come and tell me that that's wrong, that's not a law, right? And then these same people are going to tell me that an object in motion will always stay in motion. They try to use that part of the first law, which is not a real law in our reality. They'll use that to dismiss the practical demonstrations, but they'll deny what's provable, testable, and repeatable, which again, you require a force for acceleration. Again, not only that, acceleration will always cause displacement. So those are two universal factors, you know, that people, not only globe earthers, but stationary flat earthers now deny. So when I call, you know, flat earthers or globe earthers reality deniers, I'm not just talking shit. I'm not just talking out of my ass. I'm literally going with what people show me and how people think, I guess, right? This is the logic people try and use to dismiss their reality. Again, it feels like 2016, 2017 all over again with the globe. You know, people favoring explanations. And again, you see it when I have conversations with students as well. They prefer an explanation of the universe rather than the experiments and the demonstrations that show that universe is impossible. The universe that they believe in is impossible. But yet people would still rather keep those explanations. Again, no different than a religion. You could go up to a religious person and show them the flaws of their logic and show them how the Bible doesn't make any sense. You know, how it invokes, again, for people that take it literally. You know, because obviously I agree with the Bible and a lot of the lessons that are in there. I don't deny that. But what I'm talking about is about the literal events that people believe actually happen. A lot of these events, again, they contradict physics too. You know, there's a lot of magic that happens in the Bible for the ones that take it literally. When you highlight these points to them, you know, these contradictions of the Bible, that, you know, contradictions of the real world, they don't want to hear it. They'll dismiss the practical world to just keep believing in this book or keep believing in the stories of this book that contradicts their reality. So that's what a religious person does, you know. So globe earthers are no different, and now stationary flat earthers are on the same boat as well. Why? Because they believe in this magical force that, again, cannot exist. It contradicts our reality. It's a direct contradiction of our physical reality, but yet they will still buy into these explanations, you know, over what reality shows. You know, reality shows that that's impossible. literally impossible. But again, people will still buy into the explanations over their demonstrable reality that contradicts those explanations. Like, if that's not a religion, like, I don't know what is. I mean, that is the exact definition of a religion. It's someone that literally denies the reality over in favor of stories and explanations. That is a religion. So if you believe the earth is a globe, if you believe the earth is flat and stationary, I hate to break it to you, but you are in a religion. Because the foundation of religions is faith. Reality doesn't require faith. Practical reality doesn't require your belief. You know, it is what it is, whether you like it or not. You know, it's all about understanding, you know, how this place works. Again, we can't have a full understanding of the whole, and I admit that. That's obvious. Nobody understands the whole. But we can understand cause and effect of certain things. You know, we understand objective facts and objective truth are a thing of this reality. Again, how do we know objective truth and objective facts are part of our reality? Because objective truth is simply understanding cause and effect. Again, like I was saying in my last live, it's literally what keeps you alive. Understanding objective truths is what keeps you alive. You know, understanding that breathing water, you know, there's cause and effects to that action. You know, you're gonna drown. Now, that's not a belief. That's not a theory. That's not something you just have to put faith in. That's a fact. Now, again, if anybody, you know, denies that fact, jump in water and breathe it and tell me what happens. If you're one of these people that says that you can't prove anything. Science is just the closest we can get to proving things, but we can never prove things definitively. Like, what? So you're denying that in this reality we experience cause and effect. I mean, that's where that claim goes. Literally. Again, just because we can't prove everything doesn't mean we can't prove anything. Because that's where that claim goes. It's like, oh, science is the best we got, but we still can't prove anything. It's like, okay, jump in fire and tell me you're not going to burn into a crisp. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, we understand the objective truth of jumping into fire. You know? It's again, we avoid things that are going to cause harm to our bodies. You know, why? Because we understand how this reality works. We understand that our bodies have limits. Our humans' bodies, the flesh, our skin, bones, our veins, everything, it has limits. You know? So as a human being, you know, we learn this. You know, it's a part of our reality, understanding that fact that our bodies are not indestructible, in other words, right? It doesn't matter how much you believe that your body can be indestructible and you know, it doesn't matter. The reality is it's not. That's a fact. That's a fact of our reality, you know? So, again, people that deny that we can prove things in this reality, again, no different than, you know, you're a reality denier at the end of the day. You know, again, I'm not trying to talk shit or anything. Again, I don't talk shit about anyone personally at the end of the day. Again, I take the claims of certain groups of people, again, like motionless flat earthers or globe earthers. I take the literal claims that they make and I highlight how ridiculous and stupid these claims are. Now, if you take that personally, like I'm calling you stupid because you believe that, not only does that say more about you and how insecure you really are, but that's not my problem. You know, again, this is nothing personal. You know, I'm just highlighting the logic and the flaws of the logic. You know what I'm saying? The contradictions that are there. You know, that don't make any sense. You know, so again, anybody getting butthurt, you know, over me expressing not just my opinions, again, highlighting the logic, then again, that's a personal problem at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm gonna be quiet for a bit, I guess, to see if anybody wants to stop. Because I feel like when people see me talking to the camera, I kind of feel like they don't want to interrupt, even though a lot of people still come up to me, you know. At the end of the day, I mean, I'm out here with a question, so I'm obviously trying to get a conversation, right? So even if I'm talking to the camera, I would think people would still approach it regardless, right? I wouldn't just be posted out here for no reason if I didn't want to talk to people, right? So yeah, I don't know why though. I've noticed here at USC, the conversations are not as frequent as when I go to UCR. You know, the last 2-3 times I went to UCR, it's like, holy shit, the whole video from start to finish, I just had conversations almost non-stop, you know, which obviously it's great. The more people I talk to, the better, you know. So it's kind of weird that here at USC, it's not the same, right? You would think, right, it should be similar, like, oh, students are just students, you know, right? But I guess the area, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I am in LA right now, so I guess people could be a little bit more antisocial here in LA, because UCR obviously is in a different county. It's in San Bernardino County or Riverside County. I don't even know if Riverside is a county. I think it is. So again, it's in a different county. Again, there's different, you know, the living there is a little bit different, not too different, but you know. So I don't know what it is. But we'll see if we can get one. Gotta make sure my slides are in order too, because yeah, I was actually thinking about going to UCLA already. I was gonna go today, but it was kind of last minute. I wasn't even gonna come out to do this today because I had work, but what happened was the job got canceled today, so I figured like, might as well, you know. I got the day off, so it was like a last minute thing to come out and do this. So again, I was thinking about going to UCLA already, maybe next time. It is a bit further than USC. It's like an extra 15 minutes. So if it takes me like 45 minutes to get here, it's gonna take me close to an hour to get to UCLA. So again, it's quite a commute, you know. Not that I'm not used to it, you know, but yeah, I would like to check it out just to see what kind of environment, you know, the layout, you know, I guess, to check out where the most foot traffic is, where I can post up. So again, I would like to just go just to get a look of the layout of the school and get familiarized with it. So whenever I do go again, you know, I know exactly where to go, you know. Because I believe it or not, when I first go to a university and it's my first time, not only do I struggle finding a good parking area, but I also have to look for like the best area in the school where there's a lot of students walking by, you know. So again, when I go and go to a new school, not only do I have to take account of both of those things, but also I want to park as closest to where I'm going to post up as well, you know. So again, that takes up a lot of time, you know. Sometimes it could take me just like 30 minutes after I arrive at a school just to figure out where I'm going to post up, you know, walking around the school, you know. Again, looking for parking at first, it takes like 10 minutes at least, you know. And then once I park, you know, walking around the school just to see where I can post up, you know. So all of these things, literally details, I would like to go to UCLA to get sorted, and that way, you know, I kind of have that school locked down already, you know. And anytime I decide to go there, you know, boom, I know where to go, I know where to park, and just get right to it. You know, that's how I am right now when I come here at USC and UCLA. You know, I already know exactly where to park, I already know exactly where to post, you know, and that way I don't have to worry about none of that, and I just focus on presenting this, right? So for example, here at I was going to go to UCR, but here at USC, for example, there's street cleaning Tuesdays and Wednesdays, literally one block away from the school. It's from 9 to 11. So on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I can easily, if I come before 11, right before street cleaning finishes, I can easily get a parking spot, a free parking spot, you know, for all day if I wanted to. So again, Tuesdays and Thursdays are the main days that I choose to come here because of the parking situation, obviously. If I come on any other day, parking here at USC is horrible. There sometimes is parking here on the side, on this street, but it's 2-hour parking. So again, it takes me time once I park to set up this, you know, set up the table, and again when I'm done to break it down. So again, I have to add, and I usually go on for 2 hours. So with adding the time to set up and adding the time to wrap up, you know, we can add another at least 20-30 minutes to that. So a 2-hour meter is not going to be good enough. You know, I will have to literally leave my station to go put more time. It's not like the one at UCR that I could do it from my phone. This one's that you have to physically put coins in or use your card, you know, physically there. But so again, coming here unless I have good parking, it's not convenient. so again, it was last minute. It was a Tuesday. I figured, oh fuck it, I'll just go to USC. And so far, it's disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. You know, the fact that I haven't even had one conversation, and I'm what 50 minutes in already almost. It's kind of bizarre. It's kind of discouraging me from coming here in the future. But I think what I'll do next time, I'll go inside the school, like inside the campus, and see if I can find a good spot in there. Or maybe even inside USC Village. You guys seen from the beginning of the video, inside that area, it's open to the public. You know, there's stores in there and everything. So if I do post up in there, I just hope I don't get any shit from security, because there is a lot of security in there. So, but again, I won't be selling anything, obviously. But that's the first thing people think when they see like a table somewhere, right? Oh, like, you can't be soliciting here, or you can't be selling anything here. And it's like, well, I'm not selling anything. So you know what I'm saying? So yeah. What's up, Kyle, Ram, Malcolm, Sean? What's up? Alright, we got a lot of students passing by. We'll see if anybody wants to stop. I almost regretted not bringing a sweater today again, because I'm in the shade, and when there's a little bit of wind, it does feel a little bit cold. I'm not gonna lie. Like I would say it feels fresh. You know, I wouldn't say cold, but I knew that I was gonna be here in the open without any shades. That's why I didn't bring a sweater. But when I was walking here, when I was driving here, it felt cold. I was like, damn, I should have brought a sweater. You know, but luckily now that I'm set up here and, you know, directly under the sun, it actually does not feel cold at all. I'm actually getting a little warm. So again, I guess I don't regret not bringing my sweater after all, right? Throw the net out. That level-headed way. You're talking about like fishing? That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm fishing for some mines. Bribe the NPCs with Halloween candy, right? We need you to return to Victoria Gardens, Space Truther. I would like to go back, kind of like just to troll in a way, you know? Again, I can't really take people that are serious, you know? Like, I mean, by that, I mean like the staff, you know, the security, you know? They take their job too serious, you know? So it's not something that appeals to me, or you know, so it's not on the top of my list, that's for sure. Tina, PK, right? Hook a fish, yeah. right. again, I'm trying to I guess you could say simplify my questions. Like for example, like when people bring up when I ask them about the helium balloon. Now, when you have a helium balloon and you let it go, what direction does it go, right? And people say up. Obviously, that's the obvious one. If you say down, you're an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like, but everybody acknowledges that helium balloons go up, right? And then when I ask them, right, well, why do they go up? You know, why, right? Everybody's answer, literally everybody's answer is that, oh, it's because the air is more dense than the helium, right? This is where I need to ask this follow-up question. It's like, okay, what about the air being more dense moves the helium balloon? Not only does it move it, but why does it move it up? What is it about the density of the air that is able to move the helium balloon up? And not only that, but why doesn't it move it to the left, to the right, or even down? Right? Because obviously air is more dense than helium, but what is it about the density of the air that's more dense than the helium that causes the helium balloon to move, right? So again, why or how does the air being more dense push the helium up? In other words, again, I don't even want to use the word push because I want them to come to that realization. You know, like how does the air move the helium? I guess, right? And the answer is a push. Again, that's why I'm trying to avoid the word push from the start because I want them to say it. So again, the best way to ask that is like how is the air being more dense able to move the helium balloon in the upwards trajectory? You know, because again, why isn't it moving it to the left or to the right? 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 Or down? Right? So again, the fact is because it's the air that it's pushing it up. The air is more dense than the helium, so it's able to push it up. Right? Because buoyancy, again, it's a chain reaction of motion or a push, because buoyancy is a push. It's an upwards thrust, right? Which actually vanishes in free fall, which again, it's another demonstration that shows that there is that lack of force or push in free fall, and it's only present when you're connected to the earth. Not only that, the way matter reorientates, you know, again, I'll show it. A ping pong ball gets pushed in the direction of the force because, again, the ping pong ball is less dense than the water when it's in water, so the water is able to push it up, right? I thought I had that demonstration. Okay, here it is. For example, here, the helium balloon is being pushed up when I'm holding it, stretching the slinky because it's glued to the slinky. Again, it's showing an upwards push, an upwards thrust. You know, the instant I put that into free fall, that upwards push, that constant push, again, because you have a constant push and a constant resistance to the push. Once that constant push is no longer there, then the resistance of the spring, you know, is able to retract. You know, the slinky is able to retract itself because it's no longer feeling that upwards buoyant push of the ping pong ball. Because again, the water in free fall has no pressure. It has no pressure gradient. So you need a pressure gradient in order for matter to reorientate relative to that pressure gradient. In order to have a pressure gradient, you require a force or motion. So again, in free fall, we see that there is no buoyant force. There is no pressure gradient causing the buoyant force. And because there's no external force or push acting on the vessel in free fall. So again, reality is not lying. People can lie. Reality doesn't lie. People lie. So when people make claims about your reality that contradict what you already know, again, you know they're lying. Right? If somebody makes a claim to me that they can walk through walls, or they can fly, or walk on water, right? If anybody makes these claims to me, I know they're lying. How do I know they're lying? Because it contradicts basic physics. It contradicts the fundamentals of our reality. You know, of cause and effect. You know, this happens because this happens. And I can prove that because, look, I can recreate these conditions and look, this happened because this happened. You know? So it's literally that simple. So now when people are claiming, oh, well, acceleration can happen without the cause that causes acceleration and without the displacement, then you need to demonstrate that this kind of acceleration, that this claim of acceleration it's demonstrable and provable in another vector. you gotta show that this force actually exists by actually demonstrating acceleration without displacement in another vector. That's how you prove that this force exists. You know, it can be manipulated, recreated, and demonstrated. You know, we put through the scientific method. Observable, measurable, testable, and repeatable. Just like all the experiments that I do, all the demonstrations that I do, they're all fall under the scientific method of measurable, testable, and repeatable. So yeah, it's literally that simple. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think I am.
I think you are. You'll see. You'll see.
I am.
So
really
two very easy questions, and they have to do with water.
Okay.
So the first question here, I have 3 water bottles, and I have them halfway filled with water,
Okay.
and I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see.
Okay.
So there's also a red ping pong ball in there.
Yeah.
Another thing to note is that all of these water bottles are at rest.
Okay.
So, but how I'm showing them to you, what's the difference between these 3 water bottles?
They're a different orientation.
Yes,
Yeah.
you guys got it. Can you put them in the correct orientation? It should be.
Like,
Yeah.
Like sideways.
You guys got it?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you guys got it.
Okay.
How'd you guys know?
Wow. Well, the density.
Yes.
The density. That's probably what, like oil or something, or I don't know.
The density layering,
Yeah,
you could say that.
density.
Yeah, the most dense goes to the bottom, which is water, and the less dense goes to the top.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, well.
exactly. So you guys got it. Pretty easy, right?
Smarter than fifth graders.
Yeah. The second one, I think is a little bit easier, so you guys should get it.
We'll see.
So again, I have a box truck halfway filled with water.
Okay.
Again, but in this one, only one of the box trucks is at rest. One is accelerating forward, and one is accelerating in reverse. So which one of these 3 is at rest?
Okay. B.
Okay, why is B at rest?
the
Because
water
it's
is
still.
Okay.
at the bottom.
Okay, perfect. Which one's accelerating forward?
No, I have
This
to say.
one.
Yes, YA.
The water's in the back. Yeah.
Exactly. So because of inertia,
Yes.
again, the water inside a container wants to remain where it's at rest. So when you accelerate, again, the water always
Yeah.
pushes back in the
Yeah.
opposite direction. Even when I accelerate down, the water wants to push up. Because water always reacts to acceleration.
Right.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you guys this question.
Okay.
When I'm holding this and it's at rest, and I release it into free fall, do you guys believe gravity pulled it down to the ground?
No, the water. Wait.
Do you believe
I mean, yeah.
gravity accelerated?
Yeah,
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 exactly, right?
Yeah.
So when I actually accelerate versus free fall, I actually have a slow motion demonstration here. When I actually accelerate versus free fall, the water actually reacts to the actual acceleration. It wants to push back
Yes.
in the opposite, which is what water does. In free fall, however, there is no reaction of acceleration. There are no effects of a force in free fall. So I don't know if you guys knew gravity is just a theory, and the reason why.
I know it was a theory. Yeah.
And the reason why is because there is no physical measurement of downwards acceleration. So another thing we know there is no physical downwards acceleration is everybody's cell phone has an accelerometer app. So that's how you're able to turn it sideways and up and upright, because there's an accelerometer in there. So if you download an acceleration app on your phone and you accelerate that phone left, right,
Yeah.
up, or down, it doesn't matter what direction you actually accelerate it, the app is going to register that force. that acceleration.
Yeah.
When you put that phone into free fall, though, however, it registers 0 acceleration. So what it registers is a deceleration from 1g. Because when it's on Earth here, it experiences a force of 1g. But when it's in free fall, it goes from 1g to 0. So it's a deceleration. So what's happening is, you guys obviously were taught that gravity is a pulling force that pulls you to the ground. The reality is the Earth is pushing up against you.
Right, and I've
Yeah.
heard that too, but I thought
Yeah.
it was like they were working against each other.
So
and
they
that's
are-
why we're sedentary and we eat.
So what's happening is inertia, again, matter wanting to remain motion is the reason why water always pushes back, is your body wants to remain motionless, so the Earth pushing up against you, because of inertia, is resisting that push, so that's why you have weight.
Yeah.
It's the inertia is
Yes.
the equal and opposite reaction to gravity.
You're like reminding me of my
Yeah.
high school physics.
No,
class.
yeah. So again, you guys believe the Earth is a globe, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
so-
Yeah, of course.
We're not flat earthers.
Okay, so if we can prove that gravity is not a pulling force that accelerates objects towards the Earth, and it's the Earth literally moving up to the object, because that's the only way it's able to push up against you, how would the Earth moving up work from a globe? If up is relative on a ball. I'm sorry?
What's the question?
So again, if we can prove that objects don't accelerate down towards the Earth, and it's literally the Earth moving up to the object to compensate for that gravity visual, if we can prove that it's the ground moving up, and up is relative on a ball, for example, if you're standing here, up is this way. If you're standing here, up is this way. And how can the Earth be moving up on a ball if it was a ball?
It's moving out from the center.
So it'd be expanding, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, it wouldn't work. That's the point.
Well, expanding out.
We will be expanding into infinity, growing.
Yeah, and it does.
So you think the Earth is growing?
No, but I think the force it enacts goes as far out to the speed of light.
What does that mean?
The action of gravity, the force of
Yes.
gravity, nothing can move faster than the speed of light.
Okay, what does that have to do with the upwards push over here?
Because how far it acts out, the force acts. We have a pull on the moon, right? And Earth. So as long as
Let me ask you this. I know where you're kind of going with this, but this is kind of maybe clear to something in your head. You know what buoyancy is? You guys know what buoyancy is? What is buoyancy?
It's when something floats.
When something floats in a medium that's more dense
Yeah,
than the
yeah,
object,
yes.
right? So buoyancy, when you release a helium balloon, what direction does it go? Why does it go up?
it's going out from the center of
I have no
Sure, but
idea.
why does a helium balloon move up when you release? Why doesn't it go
Isn't
left or
lighter
right?
than
helium
air?
weightless?
Okay. Yeah, because it's lighter than air. So the air is more dense than the helium. But my question is, I agree with that. But why does the helium move? What about the density of the air being more dense than the helium make it go up? Why doesn't it go left, right, or down?
because
Because it's
pressure.
pushing up
Pressure,
from the
exactly. Pressure. You know, pressure is a push. So when you apply pressure on something, you're literally pushing up against it. So I recreated buoyancy in a cargo van, for example, here. If you guys want to see. So I put a helium balloon in a cargo van and an apple. So the helium balloon is less dense than the air and the apple is more dense than the air. So I accelerated the van in a particular direction.
Whoa.
What direction did it accelerate? Right or left?
To the left.
I think he did to the
One of you.
right.
To the right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened when I accelerate to the right, the air again has inertia, so it wants to remain where it's at. So the van moving the air, pushing up against the air, creates a pressure gradient in the van. So the most dense air gets pushed towards the back, and the less dense gets pushed towards the front.
That's
So,
so cool.
so the air is able to push the helium because it's less dense in the same direction the air is moving. So when we release a helium balloon here on Earth, again, the apple only appears to swing back because of inertia. The air is not dense enough to push the apple like it did the helium. So it only appears to swing back, but the apple didn't swing back. The van moved towards the apple. The apple didn't move towards the van. So when we release an object here on Earth that's less dense in the air and something that's less dense in the air, it's the same principles. The helium balloon gets pushed up by the air because of pressure, but what's pushing up the air? Because inanimate matter cannot push itself. And the simple answer is the Earth. So buoyancy proves that there is an upwards push. Buoyancy, it's an effect of a chain reaction of push. And buoyancy, again, when I have a ping pong ball in water and it's glued to a slinky, you guys know what a slinky is, right? You can stretch a slinky, right? So if I have a ping pong ball and it's glued to the slinky in water, you can see that the buoyant effect is stretching the slinky. Let me show you. While it's connected to the Earth. So you can see that it's stretching the slinky, that buoyant force. As soon as I release it into free fall, that upwards push, that buoyant force vanishes. So the ping pong ball is no longer being pushed to the top of the water.
That's really cool.
So
Thank you for this.
So
Thank
again,
you.
if you guys have any questions before you guys go about this topic, this is the #1 censored topic online, and flat Earth is a psyop as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you why flat Earth is bullshit. And
Well, real quick, we are on lunch break. We have to get our lunch, but thank you so
here you go,
much.
take this. That's my channel.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so
take it.
much.
Thank you.
So just before you go, I guess, let me give you my channel as well. But again, motionless, flat earthers are claiming the Earth is motionless, which is a false dichotomy with the globe. They're both claiming downwards
Claiming a lot of things.
Well, they're claiming a downwards acceleration that doesn't exist, just like the globe Earth. That's why flat Earth. Take care. That's why the flat Earth and globe Earth are both bullshit.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, the Earth is pushing up against you.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So that debunks the whole globe Earth model. That's it. So, if you have any other questions, I'll answer them. But if not, then
What's your name?
My name's William. It's on the fly.
William Cameron.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you,
the
man.
channel.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. To the left, yeah, I know. Yeah, obviously, I don't think he was able to see what was really going on because he was a little bit further out. You know, the two girls were actually looking at it a little better, so I can only assume that he couldn't really see what was going on, and that's why he said to the left. But please ask questions. Let me see if anybody has anything else to say in the chat. So it's literally that simple. It's literally that simple. And it's like, I kind of had to help the guy out a bit, because I kind of, obviously you kind of feel that they're trying to like defend their bias, right? Again, nothing personal, but you know, I've been doing this for a while, so you know, I kind of read people. So he was obviously struggling with trying to explain his belief, obviously. So you know, I just didn't want him to go into, you know, because he was kind of not making sense already. So I just wanted to help him out a bit. Or look, you know, buoyancy, because he was trying to explain why, you know, why buoyancy, you know, gets pushed up, why buoyant objects get pushed up, right, relative to us, right? So I just had to kind of like cut him off and just show him the practical demonstrations of buoyancy being recreated, right? And I didn't even get to the, you know, to the part where, you know, well, I guess I did, of there's no displacement, right, in free fall. Which again, if you're claiming a force, you're gonna need displacement. Displacement is required when you're claiming acceleration at the end of the day. So again, the fact that matter has no orientation, no displacement, in other words, in free fall, I mean, that should show you, you know, that there is no acceleration, there is no direction in free fall, basically. You know, in order for something to have direction, there needs to be a force being applied to that and being pushed in a particular direction, and from that you're able to get your direction, your orientation, right? That's why in free fall, when people skydive, or even in zero-G planes, they experience not only weightlessness, but they also experience no orientation, or they feel orientationless, right? I don't even know if that's a word. So again, when you're free falling in an airplane and you turn upside down, right, relative to the horizon, because obviously there's no upside down or right side up in free fall, but relative to the horizon, you turn yourself upside down. What will happen here on Earth if you did that? You know, if you were hanging upside down, the blood will rush to your head. Why? Because there's a force acting on you. Again, when if you're hanging physically upside down here on Earth by a crane or whatever, you're hanging upside down physically, the blood's gonna rush to your head instantly. Like, you wouldn't even last minutes, I would assume. You know, maybe you would. The point being is the blood will rush to your head. That's a fact. You cannot stop that. The blood can only react to the external force, you know, that we experience. In free fall, however, in zero-G planes, if you were to go flip upside down, again, relative to the horizon, the blood will not rush to your head. Why? Because your body has no orientation. It has no direction, because there's no force acting on you. You know? Again, if you're claiming a force or you're claiming acceleration, then we should see this orientation of matter. You know? Because that's what matter does. It reacts to a force and it reorientates relative to the force. Matter does not reorientate itself, and it doesn't choose not to reorientate when you accelerate. You know, again, it doesn't have the ability to make decisions like that. Now, even if it did have the ability to make decisions like that, how is it moving itself? Like, come on, man. Like, so again, you have to believe that matter can move itself somehow, but not only that, but make decisions about where it should go and how it should be stacked. You know, so that's a pretty crazy belief, you know, that both globe Earth and stationary flat earthers have, which is, again, it's the root of the whole heliocentric model. It's the requirement of the entire heliocentric model. This idea of gravity being a pulling force, how they explain the moon creating the waves and orbit and water bending and the atmosphere being able to be here on Earth without a container, you know, airplanes flying level over a curve, right? How planets are formed, you know, like this whole heliocentric model relies on that theory, this idea of a magical pulling force in free fall, and now stationary flat earthers are on board. The one thing that destroys the entire heliocentric model, now flat earthers are on board with that. Wow. Like, if it doesn't show that you've been brainwashed again, that you're part of the controlled opposition, again, not necessarily that you're deliberately lying, but believing these lies and repeating them It's no different than globe earth believers believing the lie and repeating them. I mean, I used to do the same too when I used to believe in the globe. You know, luckily, I never entertained the motionless flat earth. You know, I never committed to the motion of the earth before. Like, I didn't believe the earth was moving upwards. Because again, it's not a belief, it's about understanding. So I didn't believe the earth was moving up, and I didn't believe the earth was motionless. I honestly, if you go back to my older videos, I would say that that's irrelevant. Talking about why objects fall, it's irrelevant when it comes to establishing the shape of the earth. I used to say that. You guys can go back to some of my first videos. But guess what happened? I was honest with myself. You know, I actually grew, my understanding. And now I don't believe that the earth is moving up. I understand that it is. Now, if anybody thinks I'm wrong, then you can show me how I'm wrong. Don't just tell me. Don't just give me explanations, because the globe earth has thousands and thousands of explanations, right? What we want is what's demonstrable, what can be shown, right? So if you're a motionless flat earther that has explanations about why objects fall and accelerate down without displacement, then you're going to need much more than just explanations, you know? So again, I didn't just buy into the motion of the earth, you know? Again, and I just didn't buy into the motionless flat earth either. Actually, when I would hear people talk about the motionless flat earth and talk about the Bible saying that it's motionless on pillars, which again, there's a lot of misrepresenting there as well with the Bible. But point being is, when I would hear people talk about the Bible and using the Bible to prove that it's motionless, it was a complete fucking turnoff to the whole motionless flat earth idea. Like, even before I understood the motion of the earth, I was turned off by the motionless flat earth just from hearing religious people talking about it. So I could see why people that are globe earth believers hear religious people talking about flat earth. I could see how that's a turnoff. The irony there is that a globe earther is part of a religion as well. You know, just like they see the motionless flat earth, you know, talk a lot of bullshit, and a lot of theories, and a lot of speculation, and a lot of assumptions, right? They look at it as a cult or some kind of religion. You know, the irony is that the globe earth is a cult and a religion as well. You know, so at the end of the day, anybody claiming to have a model of the earth as a whole is a fucking idiot. You're a fucking moron. You're a lying piece of shit if you're claiming a model of the earth as a whole. The fact is, nobody knows what the earth is exactly as a whole. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how it came to be. Nobody knows exactly how it works. Nobody knows how the sun and moon and stars work. None of that. So anybody claiming to know that they know these things, it's full of shit and just deserves ridicule. Literally. It's ridiculous to claim that. And all they deserve is ridicule. You know? Again, I'm not just going around ridiculing people for no reason. I don't even ridicule people at all, if anything. I ridicule the claims. You know, I highlight the logic of these claims and how stupid they are. Now, if people feel offended or still want to follow these beliefs and these claims that contradict our reality, then that's not my fault. You know, if anything, that's like you calling yourself an idiot in a way. Because what I'm saying is just a fact. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, and if you feel offended and I'm talking shit to you directly, again, that just shows how insecure you really are about your beliefs and what you think you know, right? Funny thing is, a lot of people don't even say they know. They'll admit they believe these things. Which is, what the fuck? You call yourself a truther, but yet you have beliefs about your exterior world? Again, I'm not talking about personal belief, which is a completely different subject, but if you have beliefs about your exterior world, the practical world, then you're a fucking idiot. You're better off saying you don't know. If you don't understand something, you know, in your reality, don't believe the opposite. What the fuck is that? You know? So just say you don't know. You know, again, when we're talking about claims about the physical world, there is no bearing, you know, for beliefs. You know, there's no place for beliefs in the objective world, in the world of cause and effect. You know, it doesn't matter what the fuck you believe. You know, if you jump in front of a fucking train going 100 miles an hour, there's gonna be cause and effect. Your body is not indestructible. You know, you could believe that that nothing's gonna happen to you, right? You could believe that all day. You could pray on it. You could do all this shit. Guess what? Reality doesn't give a fuck about your beliefs. Shit, that train's gonna fucking smash you and fucking obliterate you, regardless of your beliefs. So again, anybody making claims about physics that contradicts what we already know about physics, and you have no practical references, then you're full of fucking shit. That simple, you know. It's getting ridiculous, you know, to have to highlight this, but again, I get it. It has to be. You know, people are too deep into their fucking beliefs. Even motionless flat earthers, you know. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, it's fucking bizarre. So I'm gonna keep highlighting these points because, again, these are aspects of our reality. These are basic universal principles of our reality that are not gonna change. They're not gonna change unless you believe this is a fucking simulation, like some fucking morons out there. If you believe this is some kind of projection that we're creating in our mind and it's not really real and it's a simulation and nothing has real form, nothing's physical, then if you believe that, then I guess you could just believe whatever the fuck you want after that. You could believe that all the effects that are experiencing are not really effects. It's just my imagination. You don't need a cause for this. You know, my imagination does it all. Like, what the fuck? Your imagination is trying to trick you that there's no displacement in free fall when there should be? Why is your imagination trying to trick you then? Why didn't they just make the displacement happen then if it's just your imagination? Shouldn't that be an easy aspect to correct if it was just your imagination or a simulation? Again, if it was a simulation, why trick yourself? Why not add the acceleration there? Why not add the displacement in free fall? Why not? It's a simulation, it's a click of a button. Why not? You know, if you're projecting this, you know, if it's your reality, why not do that? Why try to trick yourself? Right, huh? Why? Right? The fact is that's bullshit. That's why. You know, reality's not trying to trick you. You're not trying to trick yourself, you know. The simulation's not calibrated wrong, right? Reality is what it is. And it will never change. Regardless of what people fucking believe. You know? So, again, people could take your fucking beliefs about this objective reality and you could stick them straight up your ass. Because again, if you can't physically demonstrate it, that's where it belongs. Because they're full of shit. Oh man. Let me take a little break. I'll read some of the comments right now. See if there's any questions that are worth answering, right? Or any comments that are worth highlighting. Sometimes I wonder, like when I have conversations with people and obviously it looks like they're getting it, right? Obviously. Sometimes I wonder, like, are they really getting it? Right? Or are they just kind of like agreeing just kind of to kind of like go along to get along type of thing, right? Like, that's what I kind of feel sometimes, like, especially with the last conversation with the two young women. Like, it obviously it looked like it was making sense to them, right? But at the same time, it kind of feels like, oh, they're kind of just going along to get along. Again, I don't know. I'm not in people's heads at the end of the day. Obviously, there's a lot of times where it's obviously that they do get it, you know? I'm just talking about there's some times where they agree to everything you say in a way, right? Or they'll agree with the demonstrations, not just what I'm saying, right? They'll agree with the demonstrations. But again, it just sometimes it just feels or comes off as in like, oh, especially when they kind of like cut the conversation short, which I get it, you know, people have class, they have, you know, they usually have a break in between classes as well, so the time is very limited nowadays for everyone, so I get it. But I kind of just feel sometimes that, you know, some but just agree again, just to go along to get along. Which at the end of the day, in my opinion, that's not a really good stance to be on. Like, it's not good to just go along to get along. Why? Because not only are you not understanding things for yourself when you just go along to get along, and even if you did understand it for yourself, when you go along to get along, you're kind of going against your own morals in a way. You know, when you go along to get along. And I think morals is like the wrong word here in this example. It will be more like you're going against your own common sense in a way, like your own integrity, your own honesty in a way, right? Because if you're just going along to get along and you don't have the guts to be honest and speak up how something doesn't make sense, and you just go along to get along, obviously, then that just shows that you're kind of weak-minded in a way. You know, again, I'm not saying I'm perfect either. You know, I don't say these things because I'm on top of a pedestal and I'm perfect and I don't do it. I'm talking from experience. You know, I did a lot of that as well. Go along to get along. You know, I mean, we do it all the time. You know, it's just at different aspects. You know, there's sometimes small scenarios and sometimes bigger scenarios. Obviously, the shape of the Earth is a big scenario. You know, when people find contradictions on the globe, for example, but then they just go along to get along, you know, that's not very good. That's how you get fooled into believing that there is a globe. So again, when you're listening to me and seeing the demonstrations and you just agree to go along to get along, then that's no different than globe Earth mentality, right? Again, it doesn't matter about the messenger. You know, the messenger doesn't matter. It's about the individual. It's about the individual understanding things for themselves. So whether you agree to get along, you go along to get along, whether it is towards the level Earth, the globe Earth, the flat Earth, at the end of the day, again, that is a horrible mindset to be at, you know, which is the exact very same mindset that took for us to believe in the globe. You know, it was a lot of indoctrination, a lot of peer pressure, you know, a lot of gaslighting from schools and parents, and again, eventually, we went along to get along, right? We eventually accepted the globe, right? We didn't understand it, we just accepted it. Just because that's what we were told. That's what we were bullied into believing. That's what we were gaslit with, you know? Why would our parents lie to us? Why would government lie to me, right? Well, guess what? Your parents are not lying to you. The government is. The government lied to your parents, and your parents believe them. And now your parents are passing that lie onto you ignorantly. Again, your parents are not lying to you deliberately. I would hate to think parents would want to lie to their kids deliberately, even though that's where the Santa Claus lie comes in, but that's kind of a separate subject. But I'm pretty sure parents would not want to lie to their children about their reality and about their objective world that we live in, if they actually understood, you know, and understood it for themselves. I will be surprised if there are any parents that would willingly lie to their kid about what this place actually is. So at the end of the day, your parents fell into the lie, you know, and they passed that lie on to you. So it's like, when are we going to break the cycle? You know, and it's not just about the globe Earth lie. It's the whole system, the whole way of living that's being inherited, you know, from our parents. That was inherited by their parents, which is inherited by their parents. And you're going to go back all the way back to when the government was started, right? So at the end of the day, you know, we were all lied to. The thing is, when are we going to draw the line? You know, when are we going to put a stop to it, right? Because the only way to do that is understanding reality for yourself. Once you understand reality for yourself, by default, you're not going to pass that globe Earth lie or any bullshit onto to the next generation, to your kids, for example, right? Again, it took generations to get to the point where we're at now. It might take generations to get out of this as well. So it might not be our kids. It might be our kids' kids, right? Again, it's all up to us, you know? We can make it happen in our generation if we really put our mind to it. We don't have to wait for the future generation. We're here now. We're living now. We're experiencing life now. We understand this now. So why not make an effort, right? That's exactly what I'm doing, you know? Why not make an effort and see where this goes? See if we can make a big change in our generation, right? And not have to rely you know, on the future generations, because obviously they're going to have their own problems to sort out once they're adults. But our time is now. We're the adults now. We understand this now. So take action now. You know, there's no, this whole idea of the past and the future, again, they're just ideas. The only thing that exists is now. It's the present. The future and the past are just ideas. The real world is always now. So again, if you understand this and you comprehend it, like, why not push it forward, right? That's what I would say. Again, this is where the system, you know, with their occupation, right, keeping you occupied, with their entertainment, keeping you entertained, you know, all of these distractions, all the bills, all the pressure of having to work, you know, it's there for a reason. It's there so that you never realize how much we're being fucked. It's a bit ironic, right? You're being fucked so much to the point so that you don't realize you're being fucked. So they have to have you busy all the time, again, fucking you, keeping you working all the time so that you don't realize that you're being fucked. Like, talk about circular reasoning there, like holy shit, like they got people in a fucking loop right there. Like, if people don't realize, they're keeping you fucking distracted and occupied all the time so that you don't realize you're being distracted and occupied all the time. It's fucking crazy, man. It's crazy. Again, there's no such thing as tomorrow. There's no such thing as yesterday. They're just thoughts now. Yesterday is just memory now. Yesterday doesn't exist anymore. Tomorrow doesn't exist yet, I guess, right? What exists? Now. And it's always going to be now. So again, you know, the way I see it is that once you understand this, once you comprehend this, once you know, I feel like we do have somewhat of a responsibility, especially if you have kids. You know, I have two beautiful children. We have a responsibility to represent the truth. And by truth, I mean objective truth. I'm not talking about subjective truth. You know, your personal beliefs are irrelevant when it comes to the physical world. So again, if you have kids, especially, in my opinion, we have a responsibility, you know, to share this information, you know, to try and spread it as far as we can, you know, because if I was brainwashed still, if I still believe in the globe, I would love for someone to come up to me and explain to me how I'm wrong, practically, in a simple manner, in a simple, very simple way. I would love that, you know, who wouldn't, right? I guess people with a fucking bias that are just, you know, hell-bent on their beliefs, right? But that's not me, so, and I'm pretty sure that's the majority of people as well. Majority of people I know wouldn't want to be believing a lie, which is why they think flat earth is so ridiculous, because again, they believe this lie so much that they think that the flat earth is so ridiculous, which it is. Again, there's a lot of misrepresenting, a lot of stupid comments or, you know, claims that are made from the motionless flat earth, that it does turn off Glovers to that idea. But again, it's a bit ironic because they're no different. They believe the same thing. So again, this is where the Dunning-Kruger, the false economy comes in. You know, when you have these debates of flat earth versus globe earth, it's like, fuck, it couldn't be more fucking cringy. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck me. You know? So, again, it's about calling out these models for the bullshit that they are, and calling out how it's a false economy, because they're both claiming the exact same thing. They're both giving the exact same explanations that contradict our physical world. So how are we supposed to take any of that serious, right? Bizarre. Earthship Bear, your yesterday are like canceled checks. Your tomorrows are like promissory notes. But today is like cash. I get it. Cringy indeed, but lucrative online. Yeah. Yep. Let me see. Flat Enough has a comment. friend that has a lot of comments. Let me see if it has the other question. Sir Turtle, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna call you Sir Turd. Is that what it is? Sir Turtle Otter? Your comment, all thoughts are lies all the time about everything. I mean, in a sense where thoughts are not real, I guess I could say that. Like, yeah, I guess you could say that if something is not real, I guess it's a lie in a way, right? So if a thought is not real, it's just something in your head. And, but to say that it's a lie, again, it has to be put into practicality, because you could have a thought of like, oh, like walking on water, right? If you have a thought like, oh, I can't walk on water because my body's too dense to be able to be supported by the water, I get that thought is not a lie, right? Again, it depends how you're looking at it, I guess, when you make that claim about thoughts being lies, right? Because I can have a thought that, oh, humans don't have the ability to fly, right? They require an external force to make them fly, if anything, right? But humans alone cannot fly. That's a thought there, but that thought is not a lie. It actually aligns with our reality, So, again, it depends how you look at it, I guess, at the end of the day. Adventures question every claim. Once you have eliminated the impossible, whatever is left, no matter how improbable, must remain the truth. I would say that is true, especially for the people struggling with letting go of the motionless flat Earth or the globe in other hands. That would make sense for people like that. But at the end of the day, I don't think, obviously, proving the motion of the Earth or the level Earth, the lack of convexity of the Earth, I don't think it's improbable. I think it's easily demonstrable, right? So, again, you eliminate the impossible, which is true. Again, the fact that there is no physical acceleration in free fall, by the fact that there is no force or displacement, again, that's eliminating the impossible right there. So objects don't accelerate. So what we're left is that the Earth must be pushing up. But again, we don't just have to accept that either, because we understand buoyancy. We understand cause and effect to create buoyancy, So again, not only do we have the facts that show that the downward acceleration is impossible, we also have the facts that show that the only cause for buoyancy is a force being applied in that same direction. It's the air being pushed in that same direction to be able to push helium. The air cannot push the helium up if the air is not moving up as well. So the question is, what's moving the air up? What's pushing up on the air? Right? Well, what's underneath the air to be able to push it up? Well, the ground, the earth. The earth is in direct, it's a direct cause for that upwards push. Again, in free fall, that upwards push, that buoyant force vanishes. Like, if that doesn't show you or scream at you that it is the Earth's push, again, giving us the effect that we call buoyancy, again, if this doesn't scream at you that there is no upwards push in free fall, therefore the object is not accelerating down, it's decelerating, because again, the lack of upwards push, now it's falling, it's falling back relative to that force. It's decelerating. Like, if this doesn't scream at you that that's what's happening, like, I mean, I guess you'd rather have a motionless flat earther scream at you that it's motionless, right? You'd rather have a human scream at you that it's motionless rather than the reality, showing you literally in your face, So if you're these kind of people, then you're a cult member. You're a part of a cult. You know, that's what cults do. They deny their reality in favor of their teachings, right? They will fight tooth and nail anybody going against their teachings, which is exactly what we see with globe earthers and now motionless flat earthers. They will fight tooth and nail against reality to keep their bias, you know? So... there wouldn't be a William live stream without a siren or 3. I know, every time I come here, especially here at USC, there's always either a helicopter, police, ambulance, or in this case it was a firefighters. Oh my god. Lifting gas is weird. Flat enough. Lifting gas is weird. I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean by lifting gas is weird? Salinellian at Level-Headed William, they can't handle the truth, and to be honest, it's quite a realization to make. I like to ground, and now it even feels different with that push. Yep. That is true. Flat enough, instead of compressing and staying where it is, it maintains some volume and rises. Well, again, it's the density layering that happens, you know, again, and it displaces again because there is a force. Again, the lighter gases just don't move up on their own and reorientate themselves on their own. So all of this compressing of air that's happening is, again, the air's not compressing itself, you know. So the density layering that happens with the air is because once you accelerate, or once there's a force acting, you know, in a container in a particular direction, then you're gonna have a resistance. The air in that whole container is gonna resist this motion, right? And the air that's closest in the back, you know, of that container, it's gonna have the most resistance, you know, because there's gonna be the most mass in front of it. So that creates the more compression of air at the bottom or the back of acceleration, and the less towards the front. Because the further you move towards the front of acceleration, the less mass there's in front of you resisting back. But again, we just have to invert that this way, and it's the same principles. The higher you go up, the less matter, the less air there's in front of you, again, the top of you resisting down, which is why you have less air pressure, which is why the air compresses more down here, and why there's less dense air above. It all has to do with mass and weight, which is relative to a force, again. So again, this compression, the layering of the compression of air that we have here on Earth doesn't cause itself. Not only can we recreate that using motion, but it actually vanishes in freefall. So again, for the people that think that matter just has weight, right? Let me show this experiment. Actually, let me see if I actually have it here. I'll just share the video because it just shows that there is no weight in freefall. Let me see if I could pull it up. No. Okay, let me just, should have it here. Let's see. Is it this one? I think it is this one. Why do I have so many? Okay. I would like to share this video. And again, this shows how in free fall, water has no pressure and it basically has no weight because it requires that pressure. It requires a push, and again, in a resistance to that push is what gives you the weight. And again, I'm going to show a pressure gradient with water here. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have seen this already, but for anybody that's new, I'm going to show how a pressure gradient not only vanishes in free fall, but the weight, you know, as a result of the pressure also vanishes. Because again, you can't have weight without pressure, and you can't have pressure without a force. So again, I just want to highlight that with this video real quick, how weight is not a thing of its own and it vanishes in free fall, along with the pressure gradients in free fall again. Put the volume up.
In this experiment, I'll just be using a water bottle. I drilled 3 holes vertically on the side to measure the difference of the water pressure when it's filled. When the bottle is filled with water and connected to the earth, we can detect that there is a force present. We know that there is a force present because the water has pressure, weight, and it's being pushed out of the holes. The water cannot create pressure, weight, or push itself without an external force. We can also see that the water is being pushed out of the 3 holes with 3 different pressures, showing that there is a pressure gradient. The first hole at the top is experiencing the least amount of pressure from the 3 because it has the least amount of mass or weight above it pushing down, which causes the water to be pushed out of the hole the shortest distance. The second hole to the bottom is experiencing more pressure than the first hole because it has more mass or weight above it pushing down. Therefore, the water is being pushed out further.
Again, the water pushing down, real quick, it's inertia. Again, the resistance to the force. So the force is pushing the water, everything up, but the water, because it has inertia, is pushing back. So in this case, it's pushing down in the opposite direction. So again, that resistance is that push, is the cause and effect, you know. Is for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So again, that's the inertia creating that resistance. So I just wanted to highlight that.
The third hole at the bottom is experiencing the most amount of pressure from the 3 because it has the most amount of mass or weight above it pushing down, which causes the water to be pushed out the furthest.
So again, real quick, these same principles applies to the air as well. So density gradient or pressure gradient in the air is the same principles. Again, there's less pressure above because there's less mass above pushing down. There's more pressure the lower you go because there's more mass above pushing down. So same principles.
However, as soon as I release the water bottle into free fall, the pressure gradient or weight column completely vanishes and is no longer pushing the water out of the holes, showing that there isn't a force present. No force in free fall means there's no acceleration.
And there you go. So again, you can not only physically measure the difference in pressure with that water bottle and the 3 holes, you can actually see it too. You can visualize the pressure gradient. And again, it's all relative to a force and also how much mass is in front of you pushing back. So when you go inside a pool, for example, and you dive deep down into that pool, that pressure increases. Why? Because the deeper down you go in a pool, the more mass there is above you pushing down on you, resisting the upwards push. So that's an experience of a measure of a density gradient. And again, we have the same, it's the same principles when we're talking about air, you know, an environment of air. So the pressure gradient that we experience here on Earth, again, is from most dense here at the bottom and less dense at the top, which is a result of a force or motion and a resistance to that force or motion. So again, weight is not a cause of itself. You know, weight just doesn't push stuff, you know, or create motion, in other words. You know, it's an effect of motion. Weight is not a cause of motion, it's an effect of motion. So people that think or believe that density or weight causes motion, again, nothing personal. This is not an attack on nobody, you know, I'm just attacking the claim. if you claim that density and weight are causes of motion, you're an idiot. You're an idiot, you know. Mass alone is not a force. Density alone is not a force. You know, weight alone, it doesn't even exist on its own. You know, how can it be a force, right? So, yeah, just wanted to highlight that. Hey, damn. Going on 2 hours and only had one conversation. Wow. Wow, like there's no way it's the spot. There's no way. I don't know. Kind of weird. Yeah, lifting gas like helium maintains some of their volume. Well, yeah, because the helium is being contained. You know, if you have a helium balloon, it maintains its volume because it's being contained. Again, eventually, you know, if you change the pressure outside of the helium balloon, then that does change the pressure inside the helium balloon as well. You know? There's experiments of having a balloon inside a vacuum and then you suck the air out of the vacuum. That changes the shape of the balloon. You know? If you increase the air, then the balloon will shrink, I would assume. And if you suck the air out, then the balloon will expand. So if you create a vacuum with a balloon inside of it and you suck the air out, I mean, you create a vacuum, in other words, that balloon is going to expand. And then when you put the air back in and equalize it to the air pressure here on Earth, the balloon will go back to its starting point or its starting size, right? So,
Yeah.
so again, gas reacts to external forces, and gas also requires containment. So, again, the pressure gradient is just an effect of mass being there and resisting that force. And again, in relative where you are, you know, in that column, is going to determine how much mass is pushing back. You know, so the compression of air, again, it's relative to the direction of the force. Because it's a pushback that happens because of inertia. So again, I agree right there that liquids are incompressible. That is true. But even though liquids are incompressible, they still experience different pressure. You know? So for example, if you have a brick here, right? And you have it resting on the table, right? Or on the floor, it doesn't matter. And you start stacking these bricks, right? It will say we'll stack 10 bricks, right? We can say that these bricks are not, the bottom one that's experiencing the most weight above it, right? Or the most mass above it. The bottom one, we could put a pressure or a scale to measure the pressure, you know, the weight, in other words, and underneath the bottom one, right? Even though that brick is not being compressed, it can still detect that the increase in pressure relative to if we were to move that scale to the top one or even the middle and then the top. We're gonna get different readings of pressure, you know, even though the brick is not being compressed, because obviously it's not enough resistance there to compress the one in the bottom. But even though it's not being compressed, we can still detect that there is a difference in pressure right? Because there's more mass above. So with liquids, it's the same thing. It's like, yes, I agree that liquids are not compressible. They cannot compress water, for example, and make it a smaller volume. You know, I get that, but that doesn't mean that it's not subject to the pressure gradient still. So we can still detect an increase in weight or pressure the lower we go on the water column or the liquid column. And also, the higher we go, we'll see that there's a decrease in that pressure. And again, it's all relative to the force that's being applied, and also the resistance and how much mass is in front of that pushing back. So again, we're talking about the difference in pressure. We're not really talking about density in that sense. Now, air is compressible. Gas is compressible, which is why we have a denser density gradient as well. Not only do we have a pressure gradient with air or gas here on Earth, we also have a density gradient. Again, because air is compressible. But again, they're both gradients being caused by the same force. So again, when we're talking about liquids now, I agree. There is no density layering in water. The density is going to be the same whether you're 100 feet, you know, down the water, or just 5 feet on the water. The density of the water is the same. It doesn't change. So there's no density gradient just in water, but there is a pressure gradient that is measurable. And again, that is one of the properties of water or liquids, that they cannot be compressed. You know, that's actually utilized in your car brakes. So if you ever drove a car, that principle of liquids not being able to be compressed is utilized in the brakes in your car. So that's why brake fluid is a thing. You have to put brake fluid in your car, because fluid doesn't have the ability to compress. So when you press the brake, it's the fluid that's being pushed, and then the fluid cannot be compressed. So it's what causes your car to brake. In other words, it's a requirement, I guess. Fluids, because the fluids don't have the ability to be compressed. So again, that doesn't mean that there is no pressure gradient, though. You know. So yeah. Again, the matter moves through the medium not only because of its density, but because of the pressure gradient, again, which is caused by the force. You know, so I guess that's what I would say to that. Don't forget your blinker fluid, right? That's funny. Alright, I'm just gonna chill for like 5-10 more minutes. Maybe 15. We'll see if we get one more. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed, I'm not gonna lie. But again, it was a random day today anyway. Like, you know, I wasn't even gonna come out. One of my jobs got canceled, so I figured, you know, might as well. So can't really complain in that aspect. I mean, at least I got one conversation, and in my opinion, it was a good conversation. So that's cool. Flat enough, instead of compressing a bit and staying put, it maintains part of its volume and remains less dense than the regular air. I don't know. And I find this weird because it is air which is compressible. But again, the compression of air requires containment, and it requires a force. And in relative to the direction of the force, then you're gonna get a compression of air towards the back of acceleration, and then a less compression of air towards the front, and it's all because of how much mass is in front resisting back. You know, so I don't know where you're going with that. I don't know what you're trying to prove. I don't know. I'm a little confused. Oh, okay. It's an off-topic tangent. Okay, it makes sense now. I guess it's just something that you've been thinking about that it's kind of been on your head, I guess, right? It kind of doesn't really make that much sense in a way, I guess. I get it. I have a lot of thoughts like that too. Yeah. doesn't fail, man. Every time I come out to do activism, and especially now that it's gonna start to get cold, it never fails. I have to take a piss. Like, I literally have, like, I almost pissed myself today. I'm not even lying. Like, as soon as I parked, like, I literally had the urge to fucking pee already. And it's like, fuck, there's no way I'm gonna have to get all my equipment out, you know, walk all the way to the restroom at least USC Village and be able to make it, right? Because it was right there, like, fuck. So I had a pretty close call today. So yeah, it's one thing that never fails. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre, man. Pretty bizarre. People are definitely more scared to have conversations here at USC than UCR. I would say UCR students are way more open to having, you know, public discussions about anything, because obviously you don't know what the discussion is going to be about. So I can honestly say that, based on my experience, students at UCR are way more open to having open discourse, you know, than here at USC. I wonder why, huh? Again, it could be that people are more busy here, right? You know, they're more occupied, you know, they're just going from A to B, you know, because all the traffic here, I guess, too, in LA is fucking horrible, man. The traffic here, just to go 5 miles, you know, anywhere is like 20 minutes. You know, like anywhere else, that would be less than 10 minutes to get somewhere that's 5 miles away. Here, it could take up to 30 minutes sometimes, you know, depending on the traffic, you know. So I get it. People, not only are they obviously occupied with a 9 to 5, but the little free time that they have, they're usually commuting from A to B, which takes up a lot of time, you know, and I get it, you know. Time is money, right? A concept is a concept, right? So I get it in a sense, right? Life could be a little bit more fast here, you know, so that could be a reason. But I don't know. I don't know at the end of the day. Are people intimidated maybe? I don't know. Are you smarter than a 5th grader, huh? I guess it could be intimidating for some people. I think it's fun, if anything. You know, most people that come up to the table, I usually get that kind of energy or that kind of vibe where it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun, right? Not like, oh, I do get that from some people where it's like, oh, they're a little bit intimidated, right? Or they're scared, or they don't want to look stupid, right? So I would say that's a minority, you know, if anything. Most people are excited or curious, if anything, right? Curiosity, right? Most people are curious about what this table is about, right? So I guess it's just a lack of curiosity, I guess, right? It could be. It is what it is at the end of the day. It kind of sucks that the conversation that I had, like, it was going good, man. I wanted to ask maybe a couple more questions, you know, or maybe I wish they would have asked me some questions as well, you know, because that obviously shows that there is interest when they ask you questions. Whether good or bad, it at least shows interest. It's when I don't get anything back, it's where I feel like, fuck, did this really get through you? Like, did you really understand it, or are you just going along to get along, right? So it's when I don't get feedback, you know, it's when I question you know, the authenticity of the response, right, or whatever. But again, I love getting feedback. I love when people ask me questions. I love when they're trying to understand it or even break the points that I'm talking about, you know, because that just highlights, you know, where people are coming from, right? And it just highlights the mentality that people have or the misunderstanding, you know, that people have, and we can correct it, right? And again, and if I'm wrong as well, like, same thing, you know, it's just not one way, it's both ways, you know. If you can highlight that my points are wrong, you know, then that's great. That's progression, you know. It's about, you know, progressing the conversation, making it easier to understand, you know. So I'm all open for that at the end of the day, you know. But most people are not, you know. That's the problem. You know, once people are more honest with themselves and admit to themselves that they don't know everything, or that maybe what you believe about this reality may not be true, until then people are not going to be open to questioning their beliefs and their reality, you know. So yeah, that's where the Socratic method comes in, you know, which is something that I tend to focus on. Again, having a table, you know, with a question, a pretty, you know, general question that doesn't really talk about a topic, like, are you smarter than a fifth grader, for example, right? And then talking about water and how water behaves, for example, which again, nobody would think twice that it has to do with the shape of the earth, if you ask me, right? Oh, look, water in a water bottle, right? Like, oh, look, it behaves, it reacts to force, it lays level and flat. Like, yeah, this is all things that I know already. So people have no clue where the conversation's going. So once they agree to first principles and what's being shown, it's just priceless to see the reactions, right? Once you bring in the topic, you know, of the globe earth mind, right? In my opinion, it's priceless, you know, so... So yeah, seeing people scramble, you know, it's a bit fascinating. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool to watch in a way again, but I get it. I was there once, you know, and again, I don't find it entertaining or like that in a ridiculing way. You know, it's in a good progressive way, if anything, you know, which is why I enjoy these conversations, because I can see the progress being made, you know. When people can back up their beliefs and stuff like that, I can see that there's, oh shit, I'm not, you know, I can see that people are realizing that, holy shit, it's just a belief, it's just what I've been told type of thing, you know? So again, it's a good feeling, obviously, but not in a ridiculous way, you know? Again, it's more in a progressive way. Oh shit. Alright, I'm gonna go over the comments one more time real quick. See if there's anything that I should address. Man, the cat, at least you're planting the seed for them to maybe consider this in the future. Exactly. That's my only goal at the end of the day. Again, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything out here. Again, I'm just representing the facts. And again, reality is what it is. And whether people accept that or not, it's up to them. And the best thing I could do and hope for is, yeah, that I do plant a seed of doubt in what they believe in, you know, based on what I presented. And hopefully that does grow, and eventually they would want to prove the globe to themselves, because at the end of the day, that's how we debunk the globe, is we try to prove it to ourselves and quickly realize the lack of proof. Then we start looking at the other side of, you know, and then we start seeing all this evidence. Again, evidence is not proof, but we start seeing all this evidence that only works on the level earth and contradicts the globe earth. And eventually people will get into the physics of it and maybe understand the physics of it. And then, yeah, I mean, if they could skip the evidence part and just go straight into the physics that debunks it, which is what I try to focus on here in these conversations, then that's even better, you know. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's a personal journey. People have to come to this realization on their own. And the best thing we can do as truthers, or, you know, people that understand this, is just plant seeds, you know. And you do that by having conversations with people and representing the facts at the end of the day, highlighting how the globe earth and how motionless flat earth are impossible, and also highlighting the fact that the only cause for buoyancy is a push, again, which proves that the earth is moving up. So again, these fundamental facts of our reality is what's going to debunk the whole globe earth model and move this thing forward, this whole topic forward, you know. It's going to expose the liars, it's going to expose all the dishonest people, and yeah, it can only move forward from here. So alright, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. I mean, one conversation is better than nothing. So again, thanks for everyone that joins the stream, that watches my videos, that shares them, likes them. Again, I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.